This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we're going to be piping buttercream lilac blossoms. It's broken down into steps, so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. Let's get started. We're going to make the colors for our lilac flowers. And there's going to be two. We're using all American style buttercream, and we're going to use 3 liquid gel colors: violet, lemon yellow, and finally royal blue. There it is. And we're going to start out and make the purple shade. So I want to get my violet and just add 2 drops to my buttercream, because we want a nice shade, but we don't want it to be too dark. And then I'm going to take my blue and just add a few little specks so that we'll be off from that kind of true shade of purple. I'll give it a bit of a periwinkle vibe. You can also, if you want, add a little bit of pink to make a nice shade as well. We just want it to read like a nice purple. And give us a good vibe to our lilacs. If you want to go warmer, instead of a few specks of royal blue, you can do a few specks of your neon bright pink. But I thought I'd like a cool shade today, and that's going to be perfect. It's got that great kind of between a pastel and a medium tone in terms of the intensity, and has a nice little periwinkle vibe going to it. Next, we want to make just a little bit of green. I want something for the center, so you can do either a green or a yellow. That's up to you. And I just got a little bit there in my bowl because we won't need very much. So just a few specks of yellow and a speck or 2 of that blue, and that should do it. And just a little bit probably. I think I want it to be a little more yellow than blue. And my specks of blue were kind of chunky today. I just want something that'll give us nice little centers in our flowers. And will read well against that purple. There we go. For this flower, we're going to use 2 12-inch disposable decorating bags. You can see the first one is fitted directly with the tip, and the second one is fitted with a coupler. We won't be changing tips, but we will use the coupler to pipe a base for our flower. For our green, we'll be using a number 1 tip, so we want a nice, tiny, round tip. For our purple, we'll be using both the coupler and a number 81. This one is one of those great U-shaped petal tips. Let's review the techniques we're going to use to create our lilac blossoms. The first thing we're going to do is use just the coupler inside the bag. You can secure it with the ring if you want to, if you're afraid that this piece will slip around, but mostly it's just acting as a guide for a nice large round shape. So we want to be up off the surface, give it a little squeeze. You can give it a wiggle too if it's not perfectly round. And we just want to go a little faster as we go up and let it taper. And as we disconnect, if it goes off to the side a little bit, that's going to be perfect. It's going to give us those nice kind of droopy shapes to these little clumps of lilac blossoms that we're going to make. For our petals, we're going to use our 81 tip. So that's the U-shaped tip. And we're going to make little spike kind of petals. And we want them to have a little flick at the end so that they kind of curve. And instead of curving in like they normally do, we're going to make them so they curve out. We want to be up off the surface, squeeze and let it connect, and then pull away while we're still squeezing. And if we flick it kind of away from the center, then the petals will all curve out for us. And we're going to do this in little trios. So we want to have that little curve facing towards the inside of where we imagine this little blossom to be for each one. And doing that will give us these little trios of petals that'll form those little individual lilac blossoms on your little clump. We're going to do one right here on the paper. So I just want to turn this, make sure that the bag is rotated. There we go. And you can see that gives us a little blossom with those little petals all curving outwards. And that's going to give us the idea of a little lilac blossom, and we're going to pipe a bunch of these all over our mounds. To help our little flowers stand out, we're going to pipe some stamens in them. And we want to do just some tiny little spikes with a #1 tip so that they're nice and small and delicate. And we want to start close to the surface, squeeze, let our frosting connect, and pull away while we're still squeezing. And just doing a couple of those down in the center of each of our little blossoms is going to be a great way to help us differentiate the individual flowers and really help everything stand out and help really kind of delineate all that detail they're going to have. So it's not just a sea of purple there on our little clumps of lilacs. Now let's go over how we're going to take all those techniques we just talked about and put them together to create our lilacs. The first thing we're going to do is start with our bag of purple with just the coupler, and we're going to pipe that mound. We want it to be a little fatter at the base and kind of taper a little bit as it goes up. And if it leans a little to one side or the other, that's going to give us that perfect little look, feel, and vibe for a nice little clump of lilacs. We're then going to put on our 81 tip on that same bag, and we're going to start down here at the bottom and just pipe those little trios of petals all the way around. Then we're going to go up, making sure to nest in between. So it's kind of, think of it a little bit like piping these concentric circles of rows as we go up. You'll take less flowers each time because our little mound will taper a little bit, and we're going to offset them every time so that they're kind of tightly nested together. And don't worry too much if you can see a little bit of the mound. It'll be purple just like your flowers, so it'll all kind of blend together. But we do want to make them relatively close together so it looks like it's nice and dense on there and those flowers are really packed together. And we just want to go up until we do a final 1 or 2 right there on top. Our third step is going to be to put stamens in. So you just want to go in the center of each of those little trios that you made and pull 2 or 3 little stamens just to kind of give it a little bit of color in the center of each of those flowers to really help them stand out as individual flowers. It'll really help to set them off. I know anytime I do things like hydrangeas where you have a lot of blossoms clumped together like that, putting that little dot in the center of each one really helps the whole thing read and really helps those individual blossoms on that bigger clump stand out. So it's a important step there to do at the end is to put on all those little stamens, and it'll give you a nice finished look. Now let's practice on our flower nail. I've got my bag ready. It's fitted with just the coupler for now, and I'm working on a nice large 3-inch flower nail, and I've got a piece of parchment secured to my nail with just a little bit of buttercream. I'm going to start up off the surface. I'm holding my bag straight up and down. Let that frosting connect. Check out how it's coming out. Give it a little wriggle if you need to make it a little fatter or even out the shape as you build it up. Sometimes I just kind of turn it slowly just so I can check out how things are going. And then I'm just going to pull it off to the side to finish it. And if you don't like yours, you can always adjust it a little bit with the bag, kind of push it one way or another, but I like it so it has a nice slow taper and just a little bit of a lean. Now we've got our 81 tip on our bag of purple, and we're going to go in and put on our blossom trios. So you just want to give yourself a little start wherever feels comfortable and turn your bag as needed and your nail just to put on those little petals. And they don't have to be perfect, you just need to get little trios on there. To start with, some of that first row might be a little bit up and some might be a little bit down. Just remember that curve, we're always facing inward for it. And we just want to slowly put on these blossoms and make our way all the way around. And for this, just kind of rotate as needed so that you're in a comfortable position while you're piping. And if any of your petals end up being too short, you can just go right on top of them and make it just a little bit longer. As you work, you'll start doing more rows. And you can see working from the bottom is going to give us a little bit extra stability just because it allows the frosting to build up down there and kind of support what comes on top. You just want to keep going, keep putting those blossoms on, nest them down in there as close as you can. But once you get started, it kind of makes quick work of it. You'll be able to cover up that area relatively quickly. And don't worry too much about getting every petal perfect. Just get them on there. Now we've got our bag of green with our number 1 tip, and we're just going to go in and pull a few short little spikes in the center of each of these tiny little blossoms. And you can see right away, just putting in that little bit of green, 1 or 2 quick little lines is enough to really kind of start to kind of help differentiate all those little blossoms and set them apart from each other. So just go in at any angle you need to, wherever you need to, and put in a little dot of green here and there. And if you need to, rock your tip back and forth as you work. So we just want to go in and put in a little stamen in the center of it, all of these, all of our little trios there, just to make sure we have a tiny little hit of green to set off the centers of all of our flowers. And there we have a cute little clump of lilac blossoms. That's all for this lesson. We hope you liked this video, and if you do, you'll try checking out some of our other flower series videos. We have a great one on hydrangea blossoms, and also a great basic one on roses. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecoratingschool.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.